June 4th, 1942. Dawn breaks over the Pacific as 248 Japanese aircraft descend on Midway Atoll. 0 fighters and dive bombers destroy everything in sight, while 4 Japanese carriers prepare to obliterate what's left of the U.S. Pacific Fleet after Pearl Harbor. But let's change one thing. Roaring off Midway's coral runway is something no one understands. A Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II dropped into a battle it was never meant for. So what happens when the most advanced fighter jet on Earth is unleashed during one of history's most decisive naval battles? Can it single-handedly turn the tide of the Pacific War? Or is it just one jet against 248 Japanese planes? Let's start by looking at what we just sent back to the 40s. The F-35 looks like the angriest triangle possible, wrapped it in radar-absorbing material that costs more than most people's houses. At 51 feet long, it's a flying contradiction. Massive, yet invisible. It's got an AN and APG-81 AESA radar that can spot a seagull from 80 miles away. We're talking about sensors that see in every direction simultaneously and 6 infrared cameras that give the pilot full 360 vision through his helmet display. He can literally look through the floor or lock missiles onto targets behind him. The star of the show is 4 AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles tucked inside its belly. These fly at Mach 4 and can delete aircraft from 30 miles away. The pilot fires and the missile does the rest. For close encounters, there's the 25mm GAU-22A cannon, a 4-barrel monster that fires shells the size of Red Bull cans at 3,300 rounds per minute. 1 second of trigger time equals 55 explosive rounds delivered directly to the other guy's cockpit. Powered by 43,000 pounds of thrust from a single Pratt & Whitney turbofan, the Lightning cruises at Mach 1.6. That's 1,200 miles per hour. Hence the name Lightning. The fastest Zero fighter reaches a measly 331 miles per hour. The F-35 can also climb to 50,000 feet. 1942 pilots would need pressure suits just to chase it to 33,000 feet. And that's on a perfect day with a tailwind and a prayer. But even then, Admiral Nagumo's strike force isn't going down easy. Before we see why, huge thanks to today's sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, completely free to play on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile. You can command over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations, from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to modern fighter jets and main battle tanks. And every vehicle is modeled with accurate engines, ammo, and crew. The detail here is kinda insane. And it's not just because it looks amazing, which it does, but it's also so that when something gets hit, the game actually shows you what happened inside. The X-ray view shows exactly where the shell punched through and what blew up. It's equal parts brutal and satisfying. You can pick your playstyle, arcade for chaos, realistic for balance, or simulator if you hate yourself. You can also deck your machines out with authentic camouflages and decorations. It runs smoothly on the Dagor engine too, so it looks incredible even on lower end PCs. And the best part is, you can play War Thunder now for free using my links in the pinned comment or video description. New players and returning players who haven't played in 6 months on PC or consoles will get a massive bonus pack that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive Decorator, Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account time. But it's available for a limited time only. So click the links below, choose your platform, and join 95 million other players in commanding the most powerful war machines ever built for free in War Thunder. Back to Midway. Admiral Nagumo brought his A-team, 4 fleet carriers that just spent 6 months bullying America. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, floating cities of death carrying 248 aircraft flown by the best pilots Japan ever produced. These aren't rookies. These are the guys who sank Battleship Row at Pearl Harbor, who conquered half the Pacific in 6 months. Their Mitsubishi Zeros are the terror of 1942. Agile, long-ranged, flown by samurai of the sky who've been training since the 1930s. The bombers, Val dive bombers, and Kate torpedo planes are precision instruments of naval destruction. Supporting them are battleships with guns that throw shells the weight of cars, cruisers bristling with anti-aircraft weapons, and submarines lurking beneath like sharks. But here's their fatal flaw. They fight with their eyes. Visual spotting. There's no radar worth mentioning, and radio communication is primitive. Their longest range weapon is a torpedo that travels 40 miles per hour. 0430 hours. The first wave launches from Japanese carriers. 108 aircraft in perfect formation. Zeros weaving protective patterns around bomb-laden cates and valves. At 75 miles, the F-35's radar plots every single aircraft on radar. The pilot sees their altitude, speed, and heading. The computer suggests optimal firing solutions while the pilot watches. The first AMRAAM drops from the internal bay and bolts from 0 to Mach 4 in seconds. The missile's brain locks onto a Kate torpedo bomber, and its fate is sealed. 20 miles out, the Japanese formation flies on, oblivious. At 15 miles, still nothing. At 5 miles, there's a glint of metal in the sunrise right before impact. 1 second it's there, the next it's raining into the ocean. 3 more AMRAAMs streak out in rapid succession, and 3 more aircraft cease to exist. There's no warning, no enemy in sight, just death arriving at 4 times the speed of sound. Panic ripples through the formation. Zeros break formation, hunting frantically for an enemy that's still 50 miles away. Some dive for the deck, others climb, both pointless. By the time the survivors reach Midway, 30 aircraft are missing. The remaining pilots are so rattled, they drop their bombs early and flee. Most miss the island entirely. The few that hit do minimal damage. Back on Akagi, Admiral Nagumo receives reports that sounds like ghost stories. Planes exploding without cause, an invisible enemy, pilots swearing they're fighting phantoms. He does what any reasonable admiral would do. Assumes his pilots are cowards and orders the second wave immediately. All 170 remaining aircraft, every Zero, every bomber, everything that can fly. The F-35 climbs to 45,000 feet, invisible to every sensor in 1942, and where the pilot can watch the second wave mass over the Japanese fleet. The 25mm cannon comes to life at 3,300 rounds per minute. A Zero attempting to intercept simply stops existing from the cockpit forward. The F-35 pulls 9 Gs climbing away, leaving the Japanese formation scattered like startled pigeons. But now comes the real prize, the carriers. The F-35's sensors locate the Japanese fleet 200 miles northwest of Midway. 4 carriers in a box formation, surrounded by escorts. The pilot switches to his GBU-31 JDAM's 2,000-pound GPS-guided bombs that can hit a parked car from 40,000 feet. He designates Akagi and Kaga, the 2 largest carriers, and picks the impact points, dead center of their flight decks right above the aviation fuel storage. The bombs drop, 3 minutes to impact, and the F-35 is already heading for carriers 3 and 4. On Akagi's bridge, lookouts spot 2 black dots falling from an empty sky. Between the time they're spotted and the time they make contact, troops don't even have time to aim their guns skywards. The explosion doesn't just damage Akagi, it breaks her spine. The 2,000-pound warhead punches through the flight deck, through the hangar deck, and detonates in the fuel bunkers. The carrier becomes a volcano of flame and shrapnel, while secondary explosions from armed aircraft cook off in the blaze. Kaga suffers the same fate 5 seconds later. 2 carriers, pride of the Japanese Navy, are dying from wounds delivered by an enemy they never saw. The F-35 drops 2 more JDAMs on Soryu and Hiryu, but his ammunition is running low. Just the cannon and 2 AMRAAMs are left. The pilot makes them count, strafing the carrier's bridges with 25mm rounds, turning command structures into Swiss cheese. The Japanese fleet is in chaos by this point. 4 carriers are burning, dozens of aircraft are destroyed, and many more are trapped on burning ships before getting the chance to take off. Zero fighters orbit helplessly, unable to land, unable to fight an enemy that operates above their ceiling, beyond their speed, and outside their comprehension. By noon, the Japanese fleet is retreating, leaving 4 carriers to burn and sink. The Imperial Navy's offensive power, built over decades, is gone in a single morning. But this is its last flight. There's no JP-8 jet fuel in 1942, no replacement missiles, and no spare parts. The F-35 becomes legend, the ghost of Midway. And June 4th, 1942 goes down in history as the strangest battle. Or what do you think would happen? Let me know in the comments. And thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Play now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile using my links in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players on PC and consoles will get a massive bonus pack available for a limited time only, so don't miss out. That's all I had for today. But if you're curious what would happen if a modern jet fought in World War II, check out the video on screen now. Thanks for watching.